Hello guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, back again now with part 6 of the build of this lovely little kit from Revell. And this is going to be the final part in the series. As you know, I said it'll be a 6-part build, and at the moment we are just about to, you are just about to see part 2 go out, so a bit ahead of you. So as you know, we got the model there. It's been flat coated. I can't remember if we flat coated it in the last video now, but it's had a flat coat, and I did it with, I tried this stuff. This is the VMS, where is it? VMS Varnish HT Top Coats Matte. That's what that's been done with. I thinned it first of all with some leveling thinner, and it didn't like it very much. So I tried it then thinning it with the Tamiya X20A, this one here, and it thinned it absolutely fine. Sprayed it on, you know, fairly lightly and let it build up, and it is a very nice, pretty matte finish. You can see it's got a very slight sheen to it. The camera's making it look a lot shinier than it really is, but it's actually very, very nice. It's a very, very slight sheen. It's going to get another flat coat after it's weathered and everything, just to seal everything in. But yeah, really happy with how that's come out. The one thing I didn't like about it, and I think you can probably just see it down there, if I hold it in the light, you can see it has this sort of dust. Whoops. Look at this. Everything is just breaking on this model because the oils have attacked it. Such a shame. I'm going to write to Revell about this, because this plastic is, for want of a better word, it's crap. Tamiya Extra Thin won't stick it. It's being attacked by oils. They've changed their plastic, and I'm afraid it's bloody awful. I'm going to write to them and complain, because it's terrible. You can see how those are just it's just crumbling. It's not bending and snapping, it's just crumbling. So we'll get that glued back on. I expect that was going to break off as well. But anyway, I ended up pinning these elevators to get them to stay on. Well, one of them anyway, I think. But anyway, yeah, you can see we've got that sort of layer of dust in there. And if you get a piece of where have we got here? Where is it? Here it is. A piece of old t-shirt material, and just wipe over it. It kind of takes that dusty look off. It's like it's probably just overspray sitting on the surface. But it's a bit alarming when you first see it, but then once you sort of rub over it, it's okay, it's not so bad. So what I want to do now is look at getting the build sort of finally done, and then we'll get some weathering on. I'm not going to go mad with the weathering. A little bit of chipping, a little bit of scratching, a little bit of streaking and stuff, and then we're also going to have to get the exhaust painted in this one. Not quite sure what I'm going to do. As you know, I always like to get rid of the boxes and sprues as fast as I can. So this box contains all the parts I need for my Spitfire from Airfix, and this one. So you can see here we've got there's the Airfix spinner in there next to the 1/32 scale Hurricane spinner. We've got the Hurricane canopy there, which is absolutely gorgeous. I think I unmasked that in the last video, didn't I? Yeah, really, really nice. So that's going to go on there like so, and as you can see, it's very nice indeed. And with that internal framing painted, it does look really, really good. It sort of gives a thickness to it, if you can see that there, but it kind of gives it a thickness. And when you look across from the inside, you can see the green inside rather than the dark green. So very nice. So happy with that. And obviously we've got all our gun doors and undercarriage doors and everything for the Spitfire in there as well. So as you can see, once we get this on, it's going to sort of take on a proper sort of, there we go, there's your proper Hurricane look. So the propeller is a very tight fit, so I would recommend not fitting it until you're ready, because you're probably going to struggle to get it off. So we'll get this box over to one side. That's me Spitfire bits in there as well. Still waiting for the mast to come back from Art Scale Kit for the canopy. So, right. So we've got wheels here, we've got the pitot tube there. We don't need that, so that can go back in the bag for the moment. We've got our clear parts there, we'll get them on. We're not going to do the exhaust right now. We're not going to do the antenna right now, but we will do undercarriage and stuff. So we'll keep them, we'll keep them, we'll keep them. That's an extra part, I don't know what that is. And then we've got our wheels there. So as you know, the wheels are all painted up and everything, so we can get those centres glued in. So that'll all look good, all look nice and dandy. So there's our wheels all ready to go, ready for some dirt and some weathering. So we've got the undercarriage to go in, we've got our tail wheel there. We can pop the actual tail wheel in between there like so. So that's our tail wheel all nice and fitted. So that's all good. And then we've got all these undercarriage parts. Now this part here, you were instructed to fit these very, very early on. I didn't, because I didn't know where the other end was going to end up. So I'm fitting them now that we know where they're going to be. We've got these legs here, and it looks like I've left great big seam lines on them, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to have to deal with them and paint them again. You can see this is the problem with silver paint. It makes seam lines stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to have to clean those up and paint them again. Silver is a great way, if you're looking for a perfect finish and you want to expose any scratches or anything, silver is perfect for making them show up. So you can use silver as a kind of primer, if you like, and it will make all the scratches and stuff show up. So I'm going to give those another clean up, because as we can see there on this one here, you can see the seam lines around there are awful. So we're going to have to stop, clean them up and start again. Right, so they are repainted. I have just, today is Sunday the 29th of January 2023, and I have just 5 minutes ago emailed Revell about this plastic, because it's going to get them a very bad name if they're not careful. It's not good. I'm not sure how this is going to deteriorate where I've got oils and stuff. I don't know if like wing joints are going to start splitting open, stuff like that. We shall have to see, but it's not good. So anyway, let's get this masking out, because basically we're sort of ready to start doing the final stages. So I'm going to get this, let's grab a pair of tweezers. Oh, I don't want those bloody pointed things, I keep picking them up. Right, and we'll start to get this foam and the masking tape out. Don't forget guys, if you are new to the hobby, the foam can be reused, you don't have to throw it away. Obviously the tape, there's no point in reusing it unless you have great big long lengths. I've got some actually down here from doing my PT boat, and what I tend to do is, not PT boat, my torpedo boat, what I tend to do is keep long lengths and stick them to the edge of the bench, and then you can not necessarily reuse them for masking, but if you just want to hold some parts together during assembly, you know, why throw it away? It's yeah, it's not overly expensive, but why throw it away if you can reuse it? Same with everything in life really, isn't it? Right, so there we go. We can see we've got the nice silver area in there now, in that exhaust area of the radiator and in there, so that's all looking good. All nice. We'll get this foam out of the undercarriage bays and we'll see how that looks. Got bits of tape and all sorts in here. Bits of foam, bits of tape. All sorts of rubbish going on. Here we go. Right. Got those little viewing windows cleared. Oh come on, I don't want to scratch the paint. Sometimes the masking tape can be a right swine to get hold of. And get off the bloody tweezers, come on. Go away. You are no longer wanted. God dear. Right. So hope everybody's happy, healthy, keeping warm. Weather's warming up a bit now, isn't it, here in the UK, so that's good. It costs you about £1 million now, £1 million a day to heat your house here, unfortunately. So, right. So I think this wheelbase is looking lovely. It's been, the masking's worked well. So there we are. I like to leave the camera on for unmasking because everybody loves it. Oh, go away. Ugh. And you all like to hear me curse and moan as well, don't you? So there we go. So there's our wheelbase. They've all been masked up, so they're looking good. So that's all cool. Now these little parts here, they were from a very early step in the build, the instructions, and they're going to go into those square holes down in there. So I'm going to grab those pointed tweezers that I didn't want just now. Pointed tweezers are great for removing paint from little areas if you want to glue bits together. So they are going to go, let's get all this out of the way and then I can put the model down. You can see we've got the chrome on there, which is the L-clad chrome, and then we've got the interior green, which is what they requested in instructions. So that's going to go through that hole and into that rectangular hole there. But I don't know quite how it's going to connect to things, so I'm going to put them in last because I also need to paint those little areas in there. See where I'm pointing to? They are leather in there. So we'll get those painted brown as well. I've also got a little bit much in there, but it's been sealed in with a varnish now, so that's unfortunate. So we'll have to do some proper oil staining in there. This is one of the mistakes. I've got some oil in there, not got it all off, and then covered it with sealed it in with some matte thinners, matte varnish, and basically it's sealed it in now, so I can't get it out. So that's not to worry. Right, you can see up in there as well, there's little door actuators and everything up inside there. If the camera will focus, there you are. So it's all looking lovely. Right, so I'm going to get those little bits in there painted brown, and then we'll look at getting this undercarriage in there. And so as you can see now, those little areas now are painted in brown. They're like sort of gaiters that those rods come through, I think. So I've basically gone around and cleaned up the areas where undercarriage parts are going to be meeting so that we get a nice strong joint. It's a lovely design. It all slots together beautifully. You've got this this little leg down in here, and then that sort of slides into there like so. Okay, and then this end here is just popping down into a slot in there that you can see, and it's really, really nice how it goes together. I need some silver paint in there where the masking hasn't held out, so that'll be okay. We'll do that afterwards. So it's a lovely nice strong undercarriage, and when that leg goes in behind as well, it's going to really support it. So as I say, I've scraped the paint so we get a nice strong joint. I can see we've got some mould mismatch on here. It's not flash, it's where the parts, the two halves of the mould haven't met properly. So we've got mould misalignment that's making it like we've got steps everywhere, and it looks bloody awful with the silver paint on. And the trouble is when you start filing it all away and grinding everything, you get it looks a bit soft and stuff. So what I'm going to do is get my extra thin quick setting at the ready. I'm going to put some in here, just into that socket, and then I can slide the leg in just like that, and then drop that bit of it down in there, and then put a drop of the extra thin quick setting in there. Remember, we're using the quick setting on this, guys, because the ordinary glue doesn't work. Then we've got that piece is going to go into a slot down in there. I'm just going to grab tweezers and push that down into that slot, and then we've got this pin on here is going to line up in there just like so. So we need to make sure that's gone right down in that slot, and then we can put a drop of the extra thin quick setting in there and a drop on there, and we're good to go. Just going to give that a little nudge, make sure it's gone right down in. That needs to be held back and down. So there we go. So I'll do the same on the other side and then leave it to dry, and then I'll be back. Right, so that's them in now. They'll be drying nicely. Now I can move on to the tail wheel. So I'm just going to put some extra thin quick setting into that hole there, and then just drop the tail wheel in just like so. And then another little drop just to give it an extra little bit of adhesion, a little bit of more melting power. So there we go. So now we can stand on our undercarriage and she's really starting to look like a hurricane now. So I'm going to now put these bits in here. So these are going to go in, they're the same, so we don't have to worry about which side they go on. I'm just going to remove some paint from the end of there, just to get a good bond. There we go. And then I'm going to put a drop of the extra thin quick setting into that hole. Try and pick this up and get it in. Yeah, that failed. So hopefully that quick setting there'll be enough in there to keep it wet. Then we can put that through that slot in there, and then into that. Oh, come on. Kind of wish I'd done this earlier now. Into there, and then into that slot. I don't think you can see what I'm doing because I'm having to hold the tail up to make gravity work with me. And then you can see the end of that actuator there is going onto that undercarriage leg there. I don't know if you can make that out, that piece I've just put in. So we'll just put a drop of glue there, and I'm going to put another little drop there just to make sure that's welded in so it doesn't fall out. And then I think we'll paint that bracket silver as well, because that looks a bit odd with it like that. Oh, that end's come out now. This is where you get the difference between the likes of Revell and Tamiya. If this was Tamiya, it would be well engineered, well thought out, and it would be gorgeous. And this is where you start to see the differences. Now, for me, there is a problem with that, is that anyone can put a Tamiya together and make it look nice. Whereas other stuff takes some skill and some extra work. And for me, that's the fun. It's the skill and the extra work that makes it fun. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Tamiya at all. But sometimes it can be a little, not boring, but just a bit sort of samey, just sort of sticking parts together. Some people say you're an assembler rather than a modeler if you stick parts together. But it doesn't matter what people say, it's what makes you happy that matters. And I prefer to put the extra work into something like this than put together a Tamiya. Now, you've seen me do a Mosquito review where I did the comparison of the Revell and the Tamiya Mosquito, and I was trying to show there what the difference is in the cost, what you get for your money, and kind of the old adage, you know, you get what you pay for, which is what a lot of people said. And you know, there's no doubt about it, the Tamiya is way superior to the Revell. I kind of wish the Revell kit was twice as good and double the price. You know, something to this sort of level would be a lot nicer if Revell did something like that. I wish somebody would do a nice bow fighter. I just hope HK models don't do it. So there we go. So that's those actuators in, and those fore and aft trailing links going in. So the next bit's going to be putting the doors on. I'm not sure how they're going to fit. Quite well by the looks of it. Yeah, it looks quite good. So the fact they they clip on and stay there. That's how good they fit. Blimey. There we are, so we'll get them glued on. In fact, I'm tempted to just put a drop of extra thin in the bottom That might be enough to hold them in. Let's put a drop in there too. There we go. They should stay there now. Right, I'll get the other one glued on and then I'll come back. And so the undercarriage legs are on now, all dried. This is the next day now, so they're all nice and solid and everything, all gone really well. Worth checking that they're actually vertical and correct and everything, because these do actually try and splay out, so get them, make sure they're glued in nice and solid. When it comes to the wheels, I actually recorded them. I thought I was recording this and the camera wasn't even bloody switched on, let alone actually recording. I didn't even switch the thing on. I'm there sat there talking to myself. In the wheels, it's like a keyhole shaped hole, and there's like a tab on the undercarriage. I don't know why, but they've got the wheels kind of timed into a certain position. I don't know if they were intending to put brake lines on there or something, because there's a hole you can see in the wheel there. I don't know if they were intending to put brake lines, but basically when I put the wheel on, it kind of went like this. So you can see it was kind of like that, on that sort of angle, rather than vertical. So what I've done is opened the hole out with a 2mm drill, and what I'm going to do, I've got this ASK large scale kit thick super glue, which I haven't tried yet. I'm going to put a drop of this in the back of the wheel here. Okay, so that's that glue gone in there, so it's nice and thick. That's a good thing. Okay, and we'll put some in here as well. Okay, so hopefully this will work. And then with the hole at the top so it's hidden, I'm just going to plonk that wheel onto there, and I'm going to plonk that wheel onto there, like so. Put this down on the bench, and then I've got a couple of parallel blocks here. I'm just going to slide these underneath, get them kind of parallel, and then make sure the wheels are up against the block so they're vertical. And the reason I'm using the parallels is so that we know that they're pointing forward. So I can push that wheel up against there, like so. Make sure the blocks are parallel, or sort of parallel, doesn't even have to be precise. So there we go. So now our wheels should dry in that position. So hopefully this stuff will go off and they'll dry in the correct orientation relative to the ground and pointing forward. So there we go. And there we go. They're dry now. So they're set in the correct position. As you can see, they're nice and vertical. And when she sits down on the wheels, she looks like a hurricane. So that's cool. Right. A few people have been asking me if you could make a Mark 1 out of this. There's two major things you have to consider. A Mark 1, an early Mark 1, has fabric wings, so you wouldn't be able to make an early Mark 1. You could make a later Mark 1, but this here is longer on a Mark 2, so you would have to shorten this. It's about 4 inches, I think, in scale, and so and obviously shortens this as well. So you basically move that line back. Okay, so you shorten that there, you shorten this panel here, and you don't have these two bulges here apparently. So there you go. So if you want to make a Mark 1, you can, but it won't be very accurate there. So that would explain why this is moulded as a separate piece. You can feel that when you get yours, you'll feel it here. There is a step up to that panel, and on this side there is a step down. So the whole front is sort of shifted over. It's only a few thou, but bit of inaccuracy in the moulding there, but never mind. So there we go. So what we're going to have to look at now is the exhausts. So I want to get the exhausts done. Now I've done them already in a metallic grey. I think they are LP61, did I do them? No, LP19. LP19, Tamiya lacquer paint. Just bent the pitot tube, well done, my prick. Go. So, there we go. And I'm going to try and give them a sort of dirty look. Now, they don't rust necessarily, but I'm going to try using some different washes and then rubbing it off with cocktail sticks and then a dead flat varnish and see if I can get that sort of look. We're obviously going to have to go around the backs of them with some black just to make them look a little bit sooty, just a tiny bit sooty. They didn't get very sooty, and then we're going to have to put some brown staining. If we look at this, this is the wing leader number 3. This is for the Mark 1, and you can see that although in this CAD drawing they've shown this sort of staining here from the exhaust, when we look at them in real life, we tend to not see much in the way of staining. You can see this aircraft here, for instance, is pretty well beat up, pretty well weathered, but there's no real evidence of any massive amount of staining there. It's not like a Lancaster, for sure. So you see the same here. You see this one has been well weathered, you know, well chipped up and everything, and yet there's no real staining in that area. Although that one has, you see, that one's got some staining on it. So there we go. I'll have to be a little bit careful with that. And also I'm noticing with the chipping, nice little dog there, I was going to put a lot of chipping in this area here, but there doesn't appear to be a lot of chipping on any of them in that area. You can see here, like, there's a tiny bit of chipping on that bit where you put your foot in there. But so yeah, we'll have to be a little bit careful with the weathering, I think. They didn't appear to get that badly beaten up, so we shall see. But the exhausts, I want to make them look sort of dull, flat, tarnished brown, heat stained sort of look. So I'm going to give it a go, and then I'll come back and tell you what I've done rather than me experimenting on camera. Right, I'm happy with how they look. Basically, they were painted with LP19. They're not glued in yet. So basically, they were painted with LP19 gunmetal. Then they've had a black brown oil wash and a rust coloured oil wash. And the only reason I've used the rust is they don't rust in real life, I believe. But I've actually just wanted to add some sort of red tinging to them, like the heat staining. And then I've very lightly gone over them with XF57 buff very thinly, and you can just see sort of it's just lighter on the back here than it is up here, and that's what I've done just to get some of the petrol staining. So now what we're going to do is add some staining. So I fitted them temporarily just so I can get sort of roughly where it's going to come, and then we can see this picture here of this Mark 1. We can see this has some staining, and it's very, very light. So I'm just going to add a very, very light amount of staining in this area here. So we'll see how it goes. So again, I've got XF57 in the airbrush. The airbrush is down to about 10 psi. And it's a very, very, it's going to be a very, very tiny amount. It's just going to be like a hint. So I keep the airbrush sort of in the direction of the exhaust flow and airflow, and just sort of add some staining in this area. We'll see how it looks. Whoops, a bit much. You can see there's hardly any paint. It's about 95% thinners, and it will just give us some staining that will peter out. It will sort of widen up and it will peter out. If I just cut back to air, you will see the staining there, and that's all we want. Just a very, very subtle, very light area, like it's, you know, it's not done much work. Okay, so we'll do the same again. Come into this side. Just going to add say this is all about subtlety. All the streaks I've seen tend to sort of follow the wing line. So remember, don't go right up to the exhaust because it wouldn't stain. Because obviously the gases are coming out, it wouldn't stain right up to the exhaust. just go a bit heavier in here. And there we go. It's just a hint. You can probably hardly see it on the camera, but it's just a hint that we've got some lighter colour there. Okay, so that's that. I kind of want to keep it even, so I'm going to go a bit further down here. Obviously it doesn't show up as much on the brown as it does on the green on the other side, so go a bit heavier if you want to, add some more just to make it stand out a bit more. Just cut back to air. And there we go. There's that light staining there. I think we just do a little bit more here. There we go. So that's that done. Right. Now I'm going to look at doing a little bit of tiny bit of chipping. So as you can see, I've done a bit here. I've done a bit of very gentle chipping on these gun bays you can see here. And what I've done is like put a piece of masking tape there and then just silver paint along the edge of the masking tape. And then I've gone over with a dry brush, just given it a very light dry brushing to give it a kind of metallic look to the metal bits. Now underneath I've done the cartridge ejection chutes, so they're done. So they're all looking cool. So now I want to give it a kind of, you can see I've just done a bit on here. I just want to give it a kind of dirty used look, and the easiest way to do that is with oils. Now one of the problems with this model is being attacked by the thinner, so I need to be a little bit careful with the thinners. What I'm going to do, I've got these are the Mk.IIb oil brushers that they've sent me. They've got quite a few here, different colours, and what I'm going to do is just go over with these three. So I've got like a Starship Filth, okay, that's 3513. I have Dust, which is 3516, and I have Field Green, which is 3506. So I'm going to give them a good shake. And the beauty of these is you normally get oils, you put them on a piece of cardboard, you let all the oil soak out of it and then you use them. These are just really handy because they're so easy to use. All I'm going to do is just put some dots randomly over the wing, just like so, okay, and then we'll get the dust as well. Give that a good shake, and I'll do the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you on the wing because it's easy for you to see. So just put some dots of this on here, like so. Don't worry if you put too much, probably I'm putting too much I think, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then some of the Starship Filth will give us a nice sort of oily, grainy sort of look to things. As you can see, it's totally random. You can do it any way you like. Doesn't really matter. You put as much on as you want. If you're doing something like a ship where you want it to look washed with the salt and everything, use the lighter colours. And then I've got a fairly sort of big brush here. It's quite a soft brush. I'm just going to dip it in some odourless thinners and then onto a towel just to remove some of the excess. And then I'm going to literally, let's remove some more of that. I'm literally going to brush over the whole model and just brush out these oils. As you can see, the dust one wasn't shaken properly because it's very thin and it's almost acting like a wash there, as you can see. So I'll get some more thinners on the brush. Just spread some thinners about. It's probably going to attack all my aileron joints and everything. But as you can see here, we can brush this out. And we can keep on brushing and we just end up with basically like a, you can see it softening that silver that we had there. But it's basically just going to give it like a sort of, almost like a filter. But it's just going to make the whole thing sort of just going to give it a dirty look, and I'm hoping it's going to, I'm doing it quite thin, I hope it's going to dry fairly quick so you can see. And I should just carry on like that because my battery's about to run out. And I'll carry on like that, and then I'll be back. And so you can see the effect. I've gone over the whole thing now, and you can see that it just kind of, I don't know if I just put it down and let you look at it. You can see it kind of just gives it that, you know, again, it's just, we don't want to go over the top, we don't want to beat it up, smash it up and have metal hanging out everywhere and everything. We just want to make it look a bit used. So all we've done is with the oils is taken away the kind of flatness of it all, the you know, the brown green, and that's it. It's kind of giving it some variation and some streaking as it would be in real life. If you don't like the effect, grab a piece of t-shirt material. I wouldn't recommend paper towel, and just wipe over, and you can remove a lot of the effect you've put on there. Okay, but remember, just keep doing it in the direction of travel, because if you have streaks sort of, you know, running across the wing like this, it won't look realistic at all. Now underneath I've done the same, and as you can see we've got the same sort of streaking effect underneath. Bottoms of aircraft I feel would probably get a bit dirtier than the top because of all the dirt being thrown up, but again, if you don't like it, you can come along with your cloth and just soften it up and just wipe it gently, go in the direction of travel and just soften up what you've got. Now the centre would be pretty dirty because of the engine oil leaks and hydraulics and dirt being thrown up by the tyres when they're taken off, but the outer wings themselves, you know, you can sort of soften the effect on them. And if you've got a bit like here where it's stubborn and it won't remove it, just take some odourless thinners, okay, go over that area and then wipe it, and you can see that it takes it away just like so. Okay, so that's the beauty of using oils. You can always go back to it. Like here I've left this all dirty because all the pictures I've seen of Hurricanes, they seem to have a load of dirt coming out from there. I don't know why, if the radiator leaks or what, but there we go. And on the engine cover there you can see I've put some streaking going back. We could just soften that up a bit like it's been cleaned off, but again it's kind of just oil stained and stuff. Now the tyres you can see are still wet. I've used some of the Modeler's oil wash on them, but because I'm 99.9% sure this plastic is being attacked by thinners, I've used Flory Pro. This is Pro Modeler, you can tell how old it is. Pro Modeler weathering wash. This is Flory wash, and it's basically water and clay. And people say this stuff goes off, it doesn't last very long, but you can see on there the date that I bought it, February 2011. So that is now 12 years old, that bottle, and it just lasts and lasts and lasts. If you don't contaminate it, I have a brush here, and on the end of it is written Flory Wash. You can see there I use it for nothing other than Flory Wash, and that way my bottles don't get contaminated. If I put that brush into that Flory Wash with oil thinners on it, it will cause it to break down, and it goes all grainy and everything. But you can just give it a good old shake, and that's it. I've got a few Flory washes and they're great. I prefer to use oils, but in an area like this where I'm being careful because of I don't want any of the plastic getting damaged by oils, it's great. So if you're doing a Bandai kit, which we know gets affected by oils, then Flory washes will be your friend, and we can just go in with a cotton bud and just wipe around and remove it, and you can see in there in the wheel bay that the wash has stayed in all the nooks and crannies and everything. So pretty good, pretty happy with that. Put the light a bit better for you so now you can see in there a bit better. There we go. So there we are. So happy with how this is coming out, and basically it is getting there. Now put that Flory wash out of the way. This brush here I'm just going to go around and stipple with some thinners because we've got that brown wash on there, and I just want it to look like the tyres are stained with mud, not like they're muddy. I just want you know how rubber gets stained with mud? If you have an off-road vehicle, you'll know what I mean. The tyres sort of stain brown. So there we go. So there we are. I think we can pretty much call this done, to be honest. I've put the propeller on, as you can see. The exhaust I'm going to glue in. So I'm going to grab some extra thin. Now the exhausts have got a little bit of damage where I was grinding them. So they're better one way up than the other. So that's okay. Yeah, that's the one with the damage. So I want that one to go on that side so it faces down. So we'll grab some of the extra thin quick setting. We'll just put some of that in there. You don't need to put it in every one. And we can come along with our exhaust and just put it in. Notice I put the exhaust in the holes, not on the exhaust, for the fear that I would rub some off onto the cowling. So we'll put some glue in there. Some glue in there, and we'll put some in that end one there, and another drop in there. There we go. And then we can plonk that in there, just like so. So they should stay. So that's that. Now I'm not going to seal it in with a flat varnish because these oils are drying lovely and tough, and they're not just rubbing off. So recommend these, but you need to give them a bloody good shake. So there we go. So let's get this masking off, and then we're going to have to get the antenna on, do these little clear parts, and we're pretty much done. Okay, people often ask what these are. These are my Anise tweezers sent to me by Tom. Thank you very much over at Anise, and these are the Anise Super Precision tweezers, and they are bloody awesome. They're very, very sharp. You could easily stab yourself with them, but the beauty of them is when you close them up, they don't do that, which, as you know, a lot of tweezers do, and your bits go flying off. And because they've got such a sharp point, they're awesome for removing masking. I'm going to be very, very careful here not to scratch. We just pick up this masking. I'm going to use a blade, in fact, just to lift the corner, because it does seem to be very well stuck down. It's got lots of paint and clear coat and all that on it, remember. So we can get under there with those tweezers. And then go back to my bigger ones. And we can see there that the got something on the inside there. But we can see that those ASK masks have done a beautiful job. We'll pick up this bottom corner here, pick up that bottom corner there, get in there with these and pick up the corner, pick up that corner, and then get the bigger tweezers. Remove that upper mask there. That's actually two pieces, that one. There we go. And then just this side one here. And these are the ASK Art Scale Kit masks you saw me use in part 3, was it, or part 4? We can see we got some bits and pieces stuck to the inside, so that's fine. Then we're going to grab this masking tape from back here that I applied, and this is actually tucked in behind that armour plate. Get that piece off of there. We can see our nice cockpit coming back into view now. Get underneath that corner. I'm going to get my little tiny Anise tweezers in there to get that bit of tape out. There we go, that tape's all come out of there. As you can see, I wrapped it around that armour plate there. And then we've got a piece here which is glued to the back of the windscreen. I'm going to have to be really careful not to get the... I think what I'm going to try and do is stick these Anise tweezers through that tape and pull. So you can see just how sharp they are there. There we are. And then give it a quick blow out from behind. I've got something in there. Grab a cotton bud. Not sure if I can get in there past that. Yeah, we got it. So there we go. So that's the canopy, the windshield all done, and you can see that masking has worked beautifully on that. We've also got the internal painted it on the inside green before we put it on, if you remember. So that's that. Now we've got the, there's our canopy, here it is. So we've got our canopy here, so that can pop on like so. Now it doesn't actually clip on as such. It's just going to sit there like that. So you can see now we've got our cockpit all visible with all our masking done and everything. So I'm going to take that off for now because it's just going to keep falling off when I pick the model up. So now I need to get these little tiny clear parts on. So there's one for there and there's one for the back. Okay, so fitted that little tiny light on the back there. It's not very nice to be honest, but it'll have to do. I'll have to go around and touch that in, I think, with a bit of paint because I've got some glue on there. I was going to use ultra glue to glue this one in, but the plastic was a bit of a funny shape. Instead of having a nice sharp pin on it, it was sort of almost like a dome. So I wanted to soften the plastic and then force it in there. So that's what I've done. When you have tiny parts like this, you can see on here, if you get a little piece of blue tack, you could hold the part. This one fits a lot better in the top here on the spine. So I'm going to use a drop of the ultra glue, which is far better for small clear parts. So I'm just going to put a drop of the ultra glue in here. Notice I'm not putting it on the part again because I don't want it to be pushed up the sides of the pin or up the part. So just put that in there like that. And then we can grab this light and just push it into that hole. And then slide the blue tack sideways and off it comes. And there we go. And that's gone in there. Lovely. So you can see, oh, there we look straight down, you've got the white. There's some silver paint on the back of it as well. So once that dries, that should look absolutely fine. Now we've got the little pitot tube. So again, don't know why I closed the glue up. Again, a little drop of white glue, ultra glue, in the hole. Where's the hole? There it is. There's the hole that it's going to go into. So we'll put a little drop of glue into there. Doesn't need much. And then the pitot tube can go into there, like so. Just give that a little push. There we are, that's gone in there. I've actually bent the pitot tube this morning, so I'll just straighten that out a bit. And in a minute we'll put a bit of flory wash on there. Again, I don't want to use the oil on a tiny part like that, it'll probably just fall apart. So that'll stay in there. And then we've got the antenna. Now I'm going to make sure everything underneath is all done because we don't want to be snapping that antenna off. I want to make sure I've cleaned out the flory wash from in here. Make sure those windows are nice and clear. That's good. So we're all good there. I am going to have to put a bit of wash on that. I'll use flory wash on that one, as I say. I've got some flory wash there that I just want to thin out a bit. In fact, I'm going to get some water on a brush. I'm going to sort that there. It's a bit heavy on that. I put some flory wash on the outside of here. And it's a bit heavy, I feel. So I don't need to turn the camera off. So you just, if you want it to stay and stain, you can just wipe it off dry. Or if you want to really remove it, just dampen the cotton bud on your tongue. It's quite disgusting, but it's just the right amount of moisture you need. So there we go, looks a lot better. So turn it over and probably this one's a lot better, this one's fine actually. We can just a gentle rub over like that, there we are. So, and that was by the way, that was the dark dirt I used, the flory wash. It was dark dirt, which is it's like a kind of starship filth colour. So I'm happy with that underneath now. So this antenna can go in. So I'm just going to check its fit. And it fits in there absolutely lovely. So we will put some, in fact no, I'm going to use some extra thin because I want this to weld in, don't I? So I'm just going to put a drop of glue into that hole, like so, and then push that antenna down in there, get a good weld action going on, and then when that's dry we'll put an antenna on there. So we can put our ultra glue away, we finished with that. So there we are. We are nearly there other than the antenna. I'm just going to check my parts box. So there's the masks, there's the decals, there's the spare clear canopy. These I don't know what they're for. They're probably for the Seahawk, the Sea Hurricane should I say. So yeah, all that in there is Spitfire, so that's good, we're done. We are absolutely done. So we'll plonk that on there. We'll plonk that on there. Put those bits to one side. And we have our Hurricane finished. And I'm really chuffed because today is the 30th of January 2023. Right here, right now. I actually got this kit delivered on the 9th of January 2023. And you all know what I'm like for taking my time, hanging around, being slow and not finishing things. Well, I can do it. So there we go. So what's going to be next, I wonder? Let's see. So I will see you all. I'm going to put an antenna on there. First of all, I need to drill a little hole in the back. In fact, I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I'm going to do this rigging, this antenna. And I've noticed from this book, this is the later antenna on a Mark 1, but common for a Mark 2. And you can see the antenna kind of goes into the fuselage. And I found a picture in here, and it kind of goes into the centre of the fuselage, just behind the antenna. So that's great. So I've drilled a hole in the back of the fuselage, 0.5, and I've put my antenna through there. I'm using medium, which is 1/32 scale black rigging, 0.135 millimeters in diameter. So that's going to be what? That's going to be like 4 millimeter diameter in real life, so it's probably pretty accurate for an antenna. So not going to stretch it too much. I learnt that on a 109 I built, where I stretched it like this, and over time the antenna snapped off. So not going to stretch it too much. All I'm going to do, I'm using this is the ASK thin instant glue I'm using here, because it is, like it says, instant. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to get my magnifier. So I can't do this on camera. I'm going to have to tell you what I'm doing. So what I'll do is I'll get a drop of glue on the end of here. I'll pull this up and just literally dab it on, because it doesn't go to the top of the antenna. It's going to go onto this. You can see this lug sticking out of the side here. It's going to go onto there. And then when it's glued on there, I will literally pull it back, hold it over there, and do the same. Now what I would often do is put the glue on or put some accelerator on there and do it, but this glue is so instant we don't need to worry about it. So it saves the use of accelerator, but it does, remember, if you're doing small parts you only get one chance because it's done. Okay, that's the ASK thin instant glue. It's really good. This bottle is over a year old and it's still good, so that says something about it. Most super glues won't last that long. So anyway, so I'm going to do that off camera because I need to use my magnifier, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. And there we go. So that's that done. I've also put some wash on there. I've painted around there. I've painted around there. I've used a piece of 0.5 brass wire for that bit in there. Remember, I snapped that off. So yeah, all looking good. And just for the final little last finishing touch, we've got this little insulator on here on the antenna. So we're going to add that. So I'm going to get our Mk.IIb Ultra Glue. I'm going to get a cocktail stick. And we're just going to put a drop of the glue onto the antenna, if we can make it stick. Okay, we need something, we need to thin it a drop, I think, because it doesn't want to go on there. So I'm just going to get some in my upturned Tamiya pot like this, put the lid on, see if it's drying out any more, and then we'll get a drop of water and just thin it down a touch, just a touch, and that should enable us to then, there we go. I don't want to touch the model now with this hand because I've got white glue on it, but we can basically If you've got the Border Models Lancaster, that kit actually has insulators in the kit, so you don't have to do this. So if you have got the Border Models Lancaster, I think there's actually spares, so you might want to use them. But generally, a drop of white glue suffices, but this is not going well at all. It does not want to come off. There we go, that's a bit better. Got to try and put a load on it, it just takes some. So there we are. Oh dear. No, it does not want to deposit itself on there for some unknown reason. I don't know why. It just does not want to know it. Never had this problem before, but saying that, I've never used the Infinity stuff before. I've always used Easy Line. Very strange. Very strange indeed. That glue is drying out of my fingers now. As you can see, let's try the other end of the stick. It has no paint on it. Maybe that'll make a difference. Very strange. So I think I'll have to come back to see what we're going to do about that one. Right, so that was a bit strange. So the Ammo Ultra Glue is not so ultra at making insulators for antenna, but Micro Crystal Clear is. I just put some on a cocktail stick, boomf. It was almost like I just didn't want to stick to that material, whatever it is. But we can see on there that's gone on absolutely fine. So we'll leave that for a few hours to dry because it's quite thick. It'll take a while to dry. Bit of black paint and that's it. So there we are, guys. That is the Revell 1/32 scale Hurricane completed. You may decide to glue your canopy on. I'm not. I'm just going to leave mine loose because it'll sit on a shelf somewhere in the house collecting dust, and that'll be that. A lot of you asked for me to show you where my model collection is, and I always say no because my model collection is all over the house. So I don't wish to go around the house taking pictures, and got to keep something personal. So there we go. So there it is, lovely little kit, really enjoyed it. Shame about the plastic, as I say. I've written to Revell about it. I await their reply. As of now, I don't think they've replied. I do have any, oh come on, bloody Face ID. Oh, no, I don't have a reply as of now, so there we are. But on the whole, really enjoyed it. Lovely little model for 40 quid. It's great, and if you give it a couple of months they'll probably be around on Amazon for like £15. And if you are looking for a really cheap build, the Spitfire Mark 9 from Revell is bobbing around on Amazon at the moment for about £18.50. So that's a bloody cheap build for a 32nd scale Spitfire. So yeah, get yourself one of those. It's not as nice a kit as this, but it's a 32nd scale Spitfire at the end of the day. So there we are, really enjoyed it. What I'm going to do now is go through a list of products I've used, tools I've used, and anything like that. If you think there's anything I've missed out, please tell me in the comments below and I can bring it up in another video on another subject. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. I kept the chipping quite subtle, as you can see, and then when you go over with the oils, it really does soften it back. So you've just got this sort of hint of chipping there. Didn't want to go mad with it. Didn't want to make it look a heavily used aircraft. But on the whole, oh, I tell you what I haven't done. It's me saying it's finished. I haven't unmasked the lights. So we've got the landing lights here. Again, these are the ASK. Where's my tweezers gone? I've put everything away. These are the ASK masks on here. So they're looking lovely. But that guy's bloody battery went flat again. One thing to remember, if you're in the market for a camera, People will tell you, there's a guy, an Irish guy, that does loads and loads of videos on the Sony's EV1, and they will tell you they charge while they are in use. They do not. Okay, they do not charge while they're in use. So, and apparently if you plug it into a different type of USB, they will or something. And I have that. I bought an adapter, but then the camera is not recognized. So there we go. So we're going to remove the masking from there, from the navigation lights. So these didn't come in this set. I had to make those myself. So there we go. We now have our landing lights unmasked, as you can see, and our navigation lights there with our little bulbs inside, all done like that. In the Revell instructions, they actually tell you to paint the lenses red and green, but all the pictures I've seen, the lenses are, as you can see there, the lenses are clear with a bulb inside. It's a coloured bulb. So in fact the model on the front of the instructions has them clear with the bulb painted as well. So don't know what's going on there. The other thing that was very, very weird, if you remember when I fitted these covers, I had a terrible fit, big gap, and if you look on there, they're not a brilliant fit either. And yet when you see Paul's build, which you would have seen already weeks ago, because this is way behind him I'm actually ahead of him in reality, but in actual video filming I'm behind him because I'm putting the videos out after so that he gets the hits for having the new kid on the block. So basically, yeah, there we go. She is done and she's looking lovely, and I'm really happy with that, how it's come out. So I'm going to go through now the paints, tools and everything I used. If you don't want to see that, flip forward. At the end of it there will be photographs with some music and you can see the model in all its glory. But basically I'm going to go through now what I used to build the model. Right, let's go through the tools then. We'll start off with the actual cutting and gluing of the plastic, and then we'll move into the painting and the cutting, the gluing, and then we'll go into the clamping, and then we'll go into the painting and everything. And I'll try and keep this order, loads to go through. So just briefly, knives I use are the Swan Morton Scalpels. They are a number 3 handle, and that's a 10A blade and a number 10 blade, and I find those do me for everything I need to do. So, and I like these because they're flat, they don't roll around. The X-Acto ones are great, but they roll around on the table. And the other problem is with these is sometimes if you're doing some heavy work with them, they will just turn in your hand, whereas that's, because it's flat, is a lot easier to control. And sort of, you know, I just prefer it, each to their own really. So that's the knives I use and the blades. For removing the parts from the plastic sprues, I like to use these Tamiya cutters. A lot of people have their preferred ones. These are my favourite. These are actually the 74035s. And then you can also get a 74129, and you can see the 74129 is a much slimmer blade, but it's a longer point, but it's not as strong because it's thinner on the end. They will chip. I've got a pair here that are actually chipped. I prefer these, but they're much harder to get hold of than these, and I've actually just bought some new ones. Here we go, and they are the 74035s. And I like to, I replace them about every 6 months. And if you think I'm using them every single day, that's not bad. It's far better than buying the cheap ones. You can go and spend a lot of money on your God hands and all that, and the display ones and everything. I prefer those myself. So that's what I use. And then for actually sanding the plastic and everything, so we're looking at cutting. So sanding is partly cutting. I generally tend to use these. These are the Infini sticks. So these white ones at the back here are the Zebra range. These are the sanding sponges, and these are the Matador range. And on the left here, you have the Photo Etch ones, which have you put they're sticky on the back, self-adhesive, abrasive paper on there. So they're really, really good. And these, as you can see, come from Premium Hobbies. It's all available from there. You can actually get a set. We get all of this with the box and everything. And they're really my go-to sanders. You'll sometimes see me using these. These are Flory skinny sticks. Unfortunately, he doesn't make them anymore. For some reason, I don't know why. He stopped making them. But these are my go-to skinny sticks. So I'm going to have to find another supplier now. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think Infini are doing some very narrow ones. We'll see what comes up. But I'll see what Ed sends me from Premium Hobbies. So if you're watching this, Ed, can I have some skinny sticks, please? I did ask him to get me some of these. not that keen on them, to be honest. They're very, very skinny, and they're also very, very coarse, and as you can see, they're not very well made. The edges are all, so I don't know. We'll see. They're not as good as the Flory ones, but it might be all we have, so we shall see where we go with that. And then generally you'll see me sort of, you know, using little bits of paper here and there, little bits of emery paper and stuff, but generally for all my sanding I like to use these. Don't forget, if you are going to get any of this stuff from Premium Hobbies, use the code NMB10, that's Nigel's Modelling Bench 10, and you'll get 10% off of everything you buy. So staying on the cutting, going for drilling, you will have seen me use this a lot. This is the David Union drill chuck, and it's absolutely brilliant pin vise. This will hold from I think it's 0.3, yeah, to 5 millimeters. Now we all know, we've tried these things here, and you're forever changing collets, and you forever can't find the right size. This will go all the way from 0.3 all the way up to 5 mil. So absolutely brilliant bit of kit, really well made. That's the David Union 150. Again, Premium Hobbies for that one. And then these drills, these are the microbox drills, absolutely brilliant. If you are looking around, you will see, here's one here, you'll see drills like this for about £3, and you think, well, they're exactly the same. They're not, okay? They're not a patch. You need to get the microbox drills that have microbox written in capital letters, okay? That's the ones to get. They're also far better than these bloody things here. Now, this is a box that I got some other drills in, but these drills come on in little packets. I got these on Amazon, and they come in little packets like this. They're bloody awful. I've mentioned this before. They're great because they have a single size collet, okay, and you can fit them into a tool like this. They'll just go in, you know, and you can lock it up and use it, you know, and then you can just change the drill over and put a different size in. So that's a good thing. But for actually drilling by hand, this is actually a little Janor tool I got on Amazon as well. You can get these. They're rechargeable, plug into the computer. Brilliant little bit of kit. Really, really good. You've seen me actually using it in this kit. I used it with a cutting burr, didn't I? To cut out. Here's the cutting burr here. So we're just adding to the list of tools. There's the cutting burr there. In fact, I could keep them in there, couldn't I? Yes, I can. So my cutting burrs can now be kept in there. They're absolutely brilliant little tool for going in and cleaning out plastic and stuff. But these are great in a power tool, but actually using by hand, they try and sort of thread themselves into the plastic, and with the smaller ones, they will just snap off. As soon as you get to this part here, obviously where it tapers out, the drill won't go through, so it just pulls itself and it just snaps off the end. They're absolutely awful for using by hand, but they're great in a power tool. I thoroughly recommend these over them any day of the week. So that's our drills, okay. What else is there in the realms of cutting? Filing, I have these glass files that I use. These are the glass clear files, absolutely brilliant. Again, get these from Premium Hobbies. They actually polish plastic, and they come in two widths. You can get the wide ones like so, and then there's the narrow ones like that. So there's the large size and the small size. They're absolutely brilliant. And you can also get these diamond files. I'm not sure if I use these in this kit, but they're brilliant. And you can see that one there, the way it's laid in the box. It's got a taper on the end, which is awesome. And that is pretty much that for the cutting side of things, I think. When it came to clamping, you'll see me use these. Everybody wants to know what these are. These are from Revell Hobby in Sweden. They're absolutely brilliant. I love them to bits. They're really, really good. And they come with a little stand as well, so you can clamp them, have things held up in them if you want, like as well. So they're really, really good and well worth having. And then also use these plastic ordinary pegs you get for clotheslines. And they're brilliant because they've got nice rubber ends on them, so they grip well. They clamp quite tightly, and they're just really, really good. And you get them in your supermarket and stuff for a couple of pounds. So they're really, really good. So that's the cutting and the clamping taken care of. You would have also seen me use probably clothes pegs that I've modified here. Just turn them around so they work in reverse. It makes them stronger and easier for getting into tight places. So they're really good. And you may have seen me use these little bulldog clamps as well. Be very careful with them on thin edges, as we talked about earlier in the assembly, or it might have been in the Spitfire, I can't remember. So that's drilling, clamping, cutting and everything. As far as gluing goes, with this kit we found, Paul and I both found, and many people have commented since, you have to use the extra thin quick setting. The ordinary extra thin doesn't seem to stick it. As I say, I have emailed Revell, I'm waiting for a reply, but they've changed their plastic and this stuff doesn't work. So this one here is what you need, the extra thin quick setting, or anything hotter. Like you could also use the Revell contactor. This one here, I'm sure that'll work. If their own glue doesn't work with their plastic, boy, they got problems. So we shall see. But the trouble is with Revell contactor, you can get this one here, which I've got in a Tamiya pot, but it's nothing like as thin as the extra thin and the extra thin quick setting. So that's why I like to use extra thin, and it's everybody's go-to glue at the end of the day, but it doesn't seem to work with this plastic, which I'm not happy about, and I've told them so. So that was glues there. Super glues, this is my go-to super glue again. Premium Hobbies, out of stock at the moment, due in the next couple of weeks. Well, I say next couple of weeks. It's next couple of weeks for me. It's sort of due in mid-February, I believe, another VMS stock. So I'll be keeping my eyes open for that one. But this stuff here, the VMS Black Thin, absolutely incredible, brilliant super glue, and is now my go-to. You'll see me, I've used this on a couple of times. This is from ASK, Art Scale Kit, over in, where are they? Czech Republic? I think it's Czech Republic. Absolutely awesome. This stuff I used in the wheels and it set really quick, so which is good because it's a very thick, goopy super glue, but usually they take forever to set. And this one just set pretty much straight away, so that was good. This stuff is brilliant. The thin, I did the antenna with it. It's literally touch dry. It's literally a second. It's awesome. It says strong bond 1 to 5 seconds, so really good. The only trouble with these is they'll be brittle. Cyanacrylate glues are brittle. The black ones, I believe they have a vinyl or rubber or something in them, so they don't dry so fast, but they remain flexible. So absolutely awesome for stuff that's, you know, like on details on the side of ship hulls and all that, that if you literally touch them with these glues, they just flick off because they've got no area of contact, whereas this it doesn't. And I've tried it, and believe me, it works. It's absolutely brilliant. As I say, the only downside is they take longer to dry, but you can use that as a positive, because I have actually used this like Mr. Surfacer, put it into a joint and then remove the excess with a cotton bud. In fact, I think you've seen me do it. It's absolutely brilliant. So, and those two there, those two ash glues, they're really good as well. So that's basically the adhesives I've used. You would have also seen me use Ultra Glue for bits and pieces. For I used this on the upper light, didn't I? I don't think I used it anywhere else on the model, but I do tend to use this from time to time. It's really good. It's really good for doing photo etch and that as well. But I still use this one because it's flexible. So brilliant, and you got plenty of time to move it around with that one as well. And then for the actual insulator on the antenna, if you remember, I used the Micro Crystal Clear, which you may wish to use to glue your clear parts, but I would far rather use Tamiya Extra Thin to glue my clear parts, because you get a welded joint rather than a glued joint. So that's that. For applying the glues, I use this is a glue looper. You can find these on Amazon and whatever. And you can see that's just like a photo etched piece of stainless steel. It has like a loop on the end. Like a snapped off needle, if you like, and what it does, it picks up some glue in that sort of slot that's in there, and then deposits it when you put it down by capillary action. So really good. And then for removing glues and stuff, cotton buds, here's the wooden type, which I really recommend, and there's your ordinary Johnson's type there, which is the paper shafts. Now they tend to, if you're using them with thinners and stuff for weathering, they tend to go all soggy, whereas the wooden ones are better. The beauty of these is they're soft. These are quite hard. So for gentle work, soaking up excess glue or whatever, these are probably the better tool, but they are quite fluffy. These are all round the better tool, but they are quite hard. So there you go. You can also get the miniature ones and everything, which you may have seen me use. There's the Tamiya ones and there's the Anise ones and all sorts you can get. So yeah, there we go. Look around. I've done reviews on all this stuff anyway. As far as tweezers go for tools, I use these Dave Coley Emporium ones all the time, and Tom over at Nice recently sent me these, which you saw me using. They're brilliant because they're very sharp pointed, and they don't do that, as I've said before in this video, I believe. So they're really, really good. I thoroughly recommend them. They are the best tweezers I've got by far. That's why I keep them in the packet, so they don't get damaged, and also so I don't stab myself. For paints, as far as primers go, I've been using Mr. Surfacer. I always use Mr. Surfacer as a primer, pretty much nothing else. So there's the black and there's the grey. This is the 1500, this is the 1200. I thin them down with Mr. Colour levelling thinners, this one here, and spray them through an airbrush. That's how I like to use them. Anything you see on here that's black, like the propeller, that is actually black Mr. Surfacer. All of the cockpit, I remember, if you remember, I did black, and that showed up any dodgy areas or anything. I didn't actually prime the model, if you remember, and that was a big downfall because it meant a load of stuff was highlighted when I painted it. So should have primed it, and if I had done, I would have used this one, which I used on the Spitfire. If you've seen, you have seen that video already, I know you have. So there's my primers there, Mr. Surfacer. For actual paint, the underneath is painted here, XF21 Sky. If you want to be more accurate, which you can see it's that colour there on the spinner, if you want to be a bit more accurate, put a bit of white in it, lighten it down a bit. This is a little bit too bright, but then the arguments over Sky can go on forever and ever and ever because they never had a standard colour. They used to mix it themselves. So that's that one, XF21. All the silver parts, like the gear bays, you can see down in here the gear bays and everything, all the cockpit seat and all the framework in the cockpit and everything, that was done with LP70. Sorry, LP72, mica silver. LP70 is polished aluminium, which I haven't used on this model. So that's mica silver, so I wanted it because it's actually a silver paint. It's not aluminium, it's painted aluminium paint. So remember that. The green and the brown, I mixed them myself. Go back and have a look at the video. I think it was part 5, and I'll tell you the ratios that I mixed them and what with, and that's the colour that I've got there. As you can see, the green, when it tends to darken up a lot when it dries, you can see there it's hardly the same colour at all. The brown stays pretty much the same. So bear that in mind when you're mixing it. You'll look at this and think it's too light, and then when you actually put it on, you can see there it dries. It dries a lot darker than the actual colour in the jar. Okay, so bear that in mind. So there's my two paints there. The varnish I used was here. You know I used the Aqua Gloss. That's down here. I haven't got it out. There we go. That's the Alclad Aqua Gloss for clear coating underneath the decals and that. No longer available. Apparently Mk.IIb, I think, have bought the rights to it or something. So we shall see what happens there. And then for a flat coat on top of the decals, I used this one here, which is VMS Varnish HT Top Coats. It's very nice varnish. As you can see, it's quite matte and it's pretty hard wearing. I've been attacking it with oils and it hasn't come off anywhere. It's done really, really well, but it does have this kind of ghost sheen to it, which actually now has disappeared with the oils, so that's quite good. So yeah, all round a very, very good varnish, and also, as you can see there, very good on the matte side as well. It's got a very slight sheen to it, which is probably more accurate than being dead flat, but yeah, I like the way that's come out. So very, very nice indeed. It's not actually flat coated after the oils. That's just left with the oils on there. The oils I used were actually the Mk.IIb oil pen, as you saw me using in this video, so I don't need to cover that again. And then the thinners I used was this. Like, you keep talking about odorless thinners. I keep talking about odorless thinners. It's this one here. I got this on Amazon. When you're buying this stuff, always look at the description and see what it says for the amount, because you'll see them together. You'll see a bottle like this and you'll see a bottle like that, and this one will be £3.50 and this one's £5, and you think, oh, that's expensive, I'll get that one. And then when you actually read it, you find out that's 30 mils and that's 245 mils. So make sure you read the description, guys. For holding parts, for holding detail parts for spraying, painting, I use the Easy. These are the Infini tool clamps here, and these are the little sharp pointed tools. You've seen me using these, and they're great for holding small parts and spraying them, and then basically stand them in this Infini paint stand, or you can make your own from corrugated cardboard like I've already done. But that's really handy. A couple of tools there, so they're really good. I'm glad I left that there because it's reminded me. For the antenna, I use this stuff here. This is the medium 1/32 scale Aero Black Rigging 0.135mm diameter, and this is by Infini. And you can get this again from Premium. You get pretty much everything I've shown you on here from Premium Hobbies, other than you can't get the clamps, you can't get the pegs, you can't get the XF21, and you can't get that. But everything else, you can't get those. Everything else, other than the pegs, you can get from Premium Hobbies. So you could make it your one-stop shop. But he's having troubles with stock at the moment because supplies are so limited. So it's a nightmare getting stuff for him, apparently. When I came to doing the camouflage, if you remember, I made sausages and I used Yoo-Hoo white tack. White tack is better than blue tack because it's not so oily. It doesn't leave an oily stain behind. So get yourself some of that. For masking, I used the wonderful ASK distribution scale mask set. This is the double-sided set for the Hurricane Mk.IIb for Revell. It's actually made for this kit. And really, really lovely set of masks. Used all of it and really impressed, really impressed. And I used you can take the canopy off. You can see that I used the interior there to spray the interior green and the exterior there to spray the exterior green. So really, really chuffed with how they came out. Really, really lovely. By the way, the interior green, I make my own. A lot of people say Tamiya XF71 is the correct green for RAF interior green. It's not. It's slightly too dark, and as you can see, I've made this one there, and I've actually mixed that with a bit of XF21, or XF76. So XF76 and that one mixed together gives you your interior green colour. You could almost get away with using XF76. But, the XF71, that one there is too dark, especially when you've got it down inside an area. I mean, if you look at this here and you look at the cockpit there, yeah, you wouldn't think they're the same colour, would you? But they are. Because when you look down inside it, everything appears darker. So there you go. And that is really about that, my friends. I don't think I've forgotten anything. A lot of people are asking what this is lately. It's just a pointed tool. Okay, if you go in Google Images and put in pointed tool, you will find everybody. I think they use them for pottery, for making a sharp point. But you can get them on Amazon for about £6 for 2 of them. So it's just a pointed tool. That, my friends, I think is about that. I did use, when I was doing some detail painting, I used this thing, which was a gift from the lovely Wendy. Thank you very much, Wendy. And this is Redgrass Games wet palette, so the paint stays wet in there for ages. It does dry out eventually, but it stays wet in there for a very long time. And it's really, really handy because you can mix them up, mix the colours up and everything. And they're just, you could use them today and come back tomorrow and they're still fine. After a couple of weeks, they do tend to dry out. So there we go. So that basically is that, my friends. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this series. As I say, I can't remember if I said it, I'm really chuffed that I've done this in the amount of time that I have, and get on with something else now. So I'm still waiting for the clear parts to come back for the Spitfire so I can get on with that. And by the time you see this, we'll probably be back on that. And I also need to get the Lancaster done, which by the time you see this, I also may have done as well. So I will see you all soon. Thank you for watching. I'll put some photographs of the plane up now. And no, I won't actually. There's no point in me putting photographs. Yeah, I will. I'll put some photographs up now with some music. I'll see you all soon. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.